Hi, welcome back to the course. We're going to move on to the next section of importing data into R and exporting. We're going to deal with Excel files. It's not my favorite data structure, but as journalists we deal with Excel files often. So this is how we can bring it into R so we can transform it, analyze it, wrangle it, visualize it, etc. So this is what an Excel file looks like. This is what it looks like normally. And this is what it looks like and this is what it looks like internally. So it doesn't look quite as structured as a CSV file. That's because the software is proprietary. And that's why importing Excel is pretty complicated. And you're going to need a package sort of like readr, but specifically for Excel files. And that package is called readXL. And I keep typoing. Alright, and just to confirm with everyone, let's make sure your working directory is where it needs to be. So mine is where all these Excel files are. I've got some Excel stuff, I've got data, I've got images, I've got my RMD file. If you need to, you can just run them chunk by chunk to see how it works. Okay, but I'm going to type it out manually. So after I've installed the package, I'm going to load the library called readXL. And to import it, I cannot be quite as it's not quite as flexible as CSV files, where I can just right-click and point to the URL of the Excel. I need to download it first before it can be imported locally. So there's a link in the page, and it will go to the Office of Chief Medical Examiner for Connecticut. And let's say I want this particular file. Right click, save link as, and you have to save it to your file, to the correct folder. And statistics summaries. So it might be named something different than what is currently in your directory. If so, just rename it. But I already have a copy in my folder, so I'm going to bring it in and drug deaths. And I'm going to bring in the function called read underscore Excel. I'm going to point out to where it is, which is in my data folder / statistics summary. There we go. So this is what it looks like. Now there's an issue here. Can you see what it is? The problem is you've got some blank rows where the NAs are, and a random number there, and also the column names are X1, X2, X3, and then maybe that. So what happened here is you can see these are technically where the column names are. They start about 3 rows in from where they're recognized. So to do that, we can go around it by passing the variable skip. Skip equals, and you tell it how many lines you want it to skip. I want to skip 2. So now let's take a look at drug deaths again. And this time it brought in the right headers. Okay, and you'll notice that the column names are preserved with spaces and symbols. To take a look at that, you can look specifically by typing in call names and the name of the data frame, drug deaths. Alright, so you see fiscal year space, and even a bunch of spaces after that. Now this is going to be a problem later on as we're trying to wrangle the data, because you'll need to refer to column names. So I'll show you a quick tip on how to clean that up. one thing, because remember how I told you how to refer to column names later on? What happened if I type in df xl and then what? What is this one? Other cases? It would not recognize that. To deal with that, if you have a space in columns and you need to refer to it, you add a backtick. And the backtick is the number, is that keyboard key to the left of the 1. So it looks like that. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, so now it works. Another way to clean up column names, like for example this one right here, fiscal year, in base R, is to do this command: call names, drug deaths, and the function is called make.names. So I am running make names on the column names of drug deaths. Okay, so now when I type in call names, drug deaths, what do I get? Aha. I have periods where the spaces are. So that makes it a little bit easier to clean up. I'll show you but still there's this particular column right here that's a lot of periods in it. I'll show you the base way to change a column name, and that's call names drug deaths. Call names drug deaths equals and then assign that to the new column name I want to type in, year. How's it look now? Better. Okay, now that's a very involved way of figuring out, narrowing down the column name that you want to rename and then renaming it. There's a much simpler way of doing this, and we'll be going over that later on in the class. Actually, I'll show you now. So bring in the library dplyr. If you don't have it installed yet, type in install packages, but library dplyr. And I can rename, what do I want to rename? I want to rename this one, XL Cream. So I'll use the rename function, and the new name will start for, I'll bring in the name of the data frame, drug deaths, and the name of the new column is called year equals, and I don't have to put in quotes this time. So new column is renamed from that column. So let's try it. Oh. Well, I need to rename it, but it named that year too, which might cause some confusion later on. So I should probably go back, and that's fine. That's a great thing about scripting. I don't have to redo things. It's easier to redo things I just rerun this, and then instead of doing year, what is this again? What was I trying to run over? It was cremation. Okay, percent of cremated. So I just need to change that to percent cremated. So then I can just start over from the very beginning and rerun all this. There it is, percent crem. Okay, well I need to fix that again. But it's no big deal. I can just rerun all those lines of code very quickly, and I've got it fixed. Percent cremated. Great. How to get rid of some NAs. That's how we'll move on to next. The base way to do that is to use a function called subset. So subset, start with the data frame name, and then this particular way to subset it is with exclamation point, for is not year. So we're looking for, we want to get rid of everything from the data frame that has an NA in this particular year. So to do that, it says, give me everything that is not NA in year. So take a look at up here when I run it. It went from 27 to 26. So that's how to do it in base. And if we use dplyr again, I'm going to rerun it, get back to 27. This time to do it in dplyr, I'm going to use drug, start with the data frame again. And this time I'm going to use, instead of filter, the verb is, instead of using subset, the verb is filter in dplyr. So same thing, drug deaths. And the same structure is .na year. So it does the exact same thing, it's just different. Why use it differently? Because later on you're going to be using a lot of variables, a lot of verbs from the dplyr package, then it just makes sense to do it that way. So check it out. Great. So the last thing we're going to talk about is how to export to Excel. I'm not going to really show you how to export to Excel. It's preferable to save data frames as CSVs when you can, because it's more open and doesn't require a paid program for others to open it. If you must, I've included links in the walkthrough for packages that will help you save files as XLS forms, Excel formats, pretty much. So we've brought in Excel a couple of different ways, and I showed you how to clean it a little bit too. We'll be going over more cleaning techniques later on, but this is just a taste.